Embodiment is a tool, an action. It is comparable to personification or anthropomorphizing. When you think of embodiment, you may think of actors and theater productions because to embody, you must perform. You must become someone or something else. To become an unliving thing is no easy task. There must be a shift away from personal understandings of how to exist, shedding human experience for object experience. It is not simply about imagining the human projected onto the thing, but truly investigating the mundane actions and ways of being of the object. Object embodiment can lead to a greater understanding of how human behavior is informed by material culture. Objects carry histories and are entangled within social ideologies and ways of being. These characteristics are so embedded in the way humans interact that it often takes dressing up as the object to understand the effect. Drag, originally a term used in the 1800s to describe men who perform the female characters in theater productions, is a metaphor for embodying something or someone else through appearance and performance. By dragging objects, we are forced to become them, to see what they see, feel what they feel, and in turn understand their impact in the world. Using the framework of location, objects, and embodiment methods, we can begin to deconstruct and reconstruct a healthy human experience. The location of choice to explore embodiment is the pub. The pub, an iconic representation of all things British, is a locus of activity, found in most small villages, suburban outposts, and urban centres within England. It is a space for conversation and community interaction. Debates between old friends and new intermingle with the yeasty smell of beer, Sunday roasts, and woody interiors. This site is a microcosm of human interaction and social performance, providing an interesting location to unpick and investigate. In addressing the pub as our focal point, we began to consider how the LGBTQ+ spaces are rapidly disappearing and how the pub can become a theater for exploration. There are a certain set of social codes in place. The individual learns to perform extroversion, flamboyancy, and flirting. Humans and objects interact: pint glass, strong man, wine glass, sexy woman. In choosing one specific site to investigate, like the pub, it is possible to unpick the implicit binaries caught up in the many everyday objects we interact with. Through studying the principal object of the pub, the pint glass, one understands more in depth how objects can shape our behaviors, how cultural norms and actions are embedded within the physicality of an object. We are constantly exposed to media and advertisement that unconsciously or not shape our perception towards drinks. Carrie Bradshaw and her usual, the classy cosmopolitan, or James Bond in his small martini glass that gives the perception of larger masculine hands. The drinking glass is embedded within references in history that shape our visions of who should drink what. Take, for example, Marie Antoinette and the myth of the Coupe de Champagne, resulting from her breast. Is this a representation of women as an object, or at least women as a sexual being objectified under the male gaze? Beyond the myths, glasses in their pure physicality can model the feminine and masculine anatomical figure. Broad, straight pints are masculine, whereas the curvy cocktail traces the idealized female figure. Finally, colors reinforce the notion of gendered glass and gender binary, as we observe through the color palettes taken from the drinks in the two articles, Top 14 Girly Alcoholic Drinks and Top 15 Most Manly Drinks. Through observing this, we can start to question this binary, present in many other objects. Socially, objects are to an extent not just limited to their functionality, but do represent our perception of society as a whole. We activated our object research by exploring mimicry, imitating scenes from films to better understand behaviors and deconstruct gender tropes appropriated in the media. A few questions emerged. What if the woman in her classy dress would be downing a pint instead of a cocktail? Historically, women were only allowed to drink midi pints, not maxis. How could objects question human binaries? Traditional methods of performance and storytelling, such as film, theater, plays, and podcasts, encourages participants to step into the body of another, granting an unseen perspective and providing a method for sharing and communicating with a mass audience. Within film and theater, there exists a freedom to create without limits. The creator is granted authority to world build, to escape from the confines of societal constructs. One of these constructs being the boundaries which exist and define gender. Breaking down gender constructs through performance exists as a method to gain a deeper understanding of our prejudicial behaviors, preconceptual expectations, and tropes. Inspired by drag, performance allows a space for an explorative subversion of these tropes via dress, action, speech, and ideology. Thus, performance here exists as a method of utilizing fluidity of the self, that it does not fit within a gendered parameter, it is ever expansive and evolving. to subvert through the reimagining and collaging of existing stereotypes in the embodying gendered objects. Using your own body as a canvas for subversion allows for physical engagement and experimentation with identity, denying assigned gender the power to predetermine physicality, activity, or behavior. What do you do with all this research? Make something. Once a location has been chosen, research completed, then the fun begins. Dragging the object. First, the script and the storyboard. What is this character going to do, say, and how does it act? By assigning characters to objects, a group can discuss and note down the feelings and observations the object might experience. This may give rise to a range of emotions and tones. Humor and innuendo are often therapeutic forms of deconstruction. On the other hand, more emotive commentary may be evoked as well by reflecting on personal stories. Group discussion and script writing can lead to an illustrated approach whereby the gestures and movements of the objects can be drawn and sketched in the form of storyboards, making it visual. Like most performances, drag and dress up includes costume, set, and props. Making these can be liberating and useful in the creation of the character's tone. Finally, the filming begins. A film is just one way to capture and immortalize the discoveries of these activities.
People always ask me if I'm a boy or a girl. I'm a fucking pint. Yes, I know you would assume I love beer, but at the end of the day I'm a vessel. I'm not limited to being filled with just one thing. I think what's on my inside should be up to me. How I present is my choice. My shape defines so much about how people see me. My straight, strong edges make people assume I'm masculine, but this is only because they see themselves within me. For some reason, the human male silhouette is compared to me all the time. I've been told I could never be a stripper. I'm not curvy enough. I'm expected to be good with a football and like beer. My shape doesn't promote delicate interaction either. The way people hold me tends to be less delicate than with a champagne flute. You don't see people throwing pina coladas in the air when England score at the World Cup. I often imagine, how might the world view me if I had a stem? A delicate elevation may give me access to more elegant drinks like wine or martinis. People think it's so weird for me to be dressed like a cocktail. I like the idea of being garnished like one. Olives, umbrellas, sparklers. Historically, such drink accessories have been used to sell cocktails to girls, make alcohol seem more feminine. What I want to know is why it's so weird for me to be garnished. Am I destined to be plain because of my straight sides? I have a feeling people don't like me for my size too. I make men's hands seem small in films. James Bond likes a martini because the tiny glass makes his hands look big and manly. I guess what I want is for people to stop reflecting themselves within me. The gendering of drinking culture is toxic. Women drinking beer shouldn't be taboo. Drinking non-alcoholic drinks out of me at the pub isn't emasculating either. I wonder if people saw me as just a cup and not as a stage for gender performance, people would start filling me with different things and maybe start seeing themselves as fluid as I am.
The pub is the site chosen, the pint the object to embody. But there are other community spaces and objects that can also highlight gender binaries. For example, the kitchen. Beyond the trope of the household kitchen being commonly dedicated to the women and a professional one to the men, one way to explore gender stereotypes here could be focused again on its tools. Is a spoon more feminine than a fork? What about appliances? Is a mixer more masculine than a toaster? Or, for instance, the hair salon, a site where gender is often determined cosmetically by the style of haircuts. Perhaps instead of looking at objects here, the hairstyle itself could be of interest. If hair's length is gradually separated from the gender that wears it, furthering broader utilization through embodiment would perhaps allow, for example, the fringe to be commonly worn by a man, as well as colored haircuts. Finally, the classroom could provide an interesting space for children and teenagers to start questioning the gender stereotypes inside their pencil case, focusing again on shapes or maybe with an emphasis on colors. What is the difference between these tapes, if not the marketing targeting to colors? Digging up deeper differences that don't need to be. Are these pens for girls and for boys, really representing their tastes when they embody them? By presenting our personal research and reflections, we aim to allow the viewer to take embodiment practice further through a series of playful workshops or theater-like performances exploring these issues in different locations. To conclude, the film and presentation produced, Dragging the Object, is designed to be shared, translated, and readapted into perhaps a dress-up workshop for young people, as the basis of inspiration for a school play or even another film. In this way, young people are required to perform and engage with existing real-world gendered categorization and are offered the opportunity to reimagine a world of contrast and overlap existing without distinctive binaries. By highlighting everyday objects which carry human histories, we can begin to dissect how material culture appropriates gender and sexual narratives. Embodiment, dressing up, or drag is a playful tool to generate understanding and can be translated to many audiences. Why not capitalize on an activity which already exists in theaters, playgrounds, and living rooms?